Today, we're breaking down the most critical global stories of February 17th, 2026. So here's our roadmap for today. We're starting with a standoff between the US and Iran, then jumping over to the front lines in Ukraine. After that, we'll look at some growing turmoil in South Asia, pause to remember a civil rights icon, and wrap up with two huge warnings that could really shape our world. First up, the Middle East. Right now, the United States and Iran are walking this incredibly fine line. You've got these high-stakes nuclear talks happening on one side, and on the other, the very real threat of military conflict. And this really shows you the incredible contrast, doesn't it? While diplomats in Geneva are actually reporting progress on a nuclear deal, Iran's Revolutionary Guards are at the very same time test-firing missiles in the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, that's one of the world's most critical oil choke points. It's a classic case of talking peace while you're also preparing for war. And if you wanted to know just how high the stakes are, wow. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei issued this incredibly direct and, frankly, chilling threat to the United States. It's a message that just hangs over those diplomatic efforts in Geneva. You know, that same dynamic of talking while also showing force is playing out in Europe too. Let's shift our focus to the war in Ukraine. A new round of peace talks with Russia has just kicked off in Geneva. But let's just say outside the negotiating room, the language is anything but diplomatic. And while it's always a good thing that the two sides are actually talking, sources on the ground are being pretty clear. Expectations for any kind of major breakthrough? Yeah, they're extremely low. The fundamental disagreement over who controls what territory is still the biggest roadblock to peace. And this just highlights the raw, unfiltered emotion that's driving this whole conflict. This is a direct quote from Ukrainian President Zelensky, posted on social media. It's this visceral demand for the West to deport Russian elites. It really shows you that even with peace talks happening, the anger is just so strong. Okay, shifting gears now to South Asia, where we're seeing instability flaring up in a couple of different ways. In both Pakistan and Bangladesh, the headlines are just being dominated by violent attacks and some really deep political turmoil. So in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, a suicide bomber drove a vehicle packed with explosives right into a security post, killing 12 people. This attack, which took the lives of 11 security personnel and one child, is just a tragic reminder of the persistent threats the country is up against. And right next door in Bangladesh, the political scene is basically teetering on the edge. The main opposition parties are locked in this standoff over constitutional oaths. So even as some of their members were sworn into parliament, the party is also threatening to take the fight to the streets. It just signals these incredibly deep political fractures. All right, now we're going to pause our roundup of global crises for a moment to reflect on a life that just profoundly shaped history. The world is mourning the passing of the American civil rights leader, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He died at the age of 84. I mean, his was just an extraordinary journey. From his early days as a key aide to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to his own historic and truly groundbreaking campaigns for the U.S. presidency back in the 80s, and then his later work as a global statesman. His impact was felt for decades. And this powerful idea, which you're hearing echoed all over the news today, it just perfectly captures his legacy. His campaigns shattered barriers. They fundamentally changed the entire landscape of American politics, really paving the way for the generations that came after him. So from the legacy of the past, we're now going to turn to the warnings for our future. We're ending today with two very different but equally critical alerts. One is coming from the world of technology, and the other, well, it's coming from our planet itself. What's so striking here is that we're facing these potential future shocks from two totally different directions. On one side, you've got governments scrambling to figure out how to regulate the explosive growth of AI. And on the other, you have scientists warning about a potential breakdown in one of the planet's most fundamental climate systems. The UK government is moving to add new rules to its online safety laws, and they're specifically targeting AI chatbots. The main goal here? It's all about protecting children from potentially harmful, unregulated AI and trying to make tech companies responsible for the content their algorithms are churning out. And at the exact same time, the scientific community has issued a deeply concerning alert. They're warning that a critical ocean current in the Atlantic, you can think of it like a giant conveyor belt for heat, is slowing down. If it collapses, we could be looking at a major climate tipping point with just disastrous consequences for weather, sea levels, and ecosystems all over the world. So all of this leaves us with one final and kind of provocative question to think about. As we watch all these things unfold at the same time, diplomatic tensions, technological leaps, environmental alarms, which of these stories do you think will ultimately have the biggest impact on the world we're building for tomorrow?